energy forecast for May 2023. So on May 21st, we have our last astro event taking place here, not only in May, but kind of in this, I'm going to say, Taurus energy. Reason being, we are moving into Gemini season, closing the door on Taurus energy. But the issue is that we didn't really have a whole lot of time in Taurus energy, normal Taurus energy anyways. And we actually usher in Gemini season still very much under the influence of the new moon in Taurus. So we are definitely going to see a different dynamic kind of initiate Gemini season. It is going to be very low, very slow. We do have to understand that the sun moving into Gemini season puts Venus kind of on the back burner because she ruled over this Taurus season, and puts Mercury in the throne. So the thing about that is that Mercury, yes, direct, is still very much in his post-shadow period. We won't clear that post-shadow period until June 1st. So he isn't quite up to par, and he's taking rulership, taking power, taking the throne, while still not kind of being his best self. So we are going to find it a little bit disorienting, a little bit, I'm going to say, frustrating in a way, because the Taurus earth energy that is still very much lingering is kind of keeping us present, keeping us grounded, while our mental plane from the Mercury and Gemini energy is rapid firing, trying to piece together where it is that we're coming from, what happened, where it is that we're at now, what it is that we want to do and moving forward. But we're not actually going to be that clear about what it is that we're being asked to pursue. Another interesting dynamic, because of course this has been a very jam-packed weekend filled with energies. We had the new moon in Taurus pop off. We're still very much in that energy, ushering in Gemini season. We have Mars, the god of war, taking his very excitable position in Leo energy. So there is some fire in the cosmos for the first time in a long time. And then we have, again, the sun that rules over that Leo energy that Mars just stepped into, moving out of the earth energy, moving into air energy in Gemini energy. So we have a lot of adjusting to do, and we are gifted an opportunity kind of wrapping up the final week of May in order to adjust, in order to acclimate. And we're definitely going to need that time, because once we move into June, things are going to get busy. Things are going to be buzzing. And so we really do have to take advantage of this opportunity to kind of stay in the same spot, to stand very still, to act as the observer, refrain from acting on impulse, refrain from making things happen, and just take in all of the changes, all of the very, very different elements in our landscape. We are planning, we are strategizing. We need to kind of formulate a good idea on where it is that we're at and where it is that we desire to be before we're gifted with the opportunity to take that action. Speaking of action, that's Mars in that Leo energy, and we're definitely going to feel some frustration, some agitation, maybe even some anger, because we're not permitted to take action the way that Mars was hoping that he was going to just jump in this Leo energy and be able to kind of take. Granted, we are kind of refining in our heart space what it is that is exciting us, that we are passionate about, that we have a desire to pursue. But again, we're gifted the opportunity to stand still and really kind of get our heart and our head in alignment before we go ahead and actually take action. So this is why Gemini season is going to kind of unfold in a very different way than some of the previous Gemini seasons that we've entered into. So let's talk about the Gemini energy. Again, Mercury ruled, again represented by the twins. What are the twins trying to teach us? Well, one twin is masculine, the other twin is feminine. One twin is the shadow of the feminine and masculine twin. One is the light. So this is essentially when we are realizing the two parts of ourselves, the shadow part, the light part, the ego part, the spiritual part, the inner realm, the outer realm. Yes, it does kind of put us in a situation to see the divide, see the dualistic form, see the polarization, But the whole point of Gemini season is to find a middle point, find an agreement, find a new common ground. And of course, we do that by exploring the extremes that are going to present themselves as we move through this Gemini energy. So it is important to kind of understand that it is an air energy. So this has a huge influence in the mental plane. We are really kind of waking up to a new situation, a new perspective, a new understanding, especially coming out of eclipse season, coming out of retrograde season. And we want as much knowledge as we can possibly get. We want as much information and details as we can possibly get. The thirst for information and knowledge is going to be very, very potent. We are more extroverted than we are introverted, so we become a little bit more social. We want to kind of have conversations, bounce ideas off of other people. We are very curious, so we're looking to kind of dabble into new areas of interest, but our energy tends to be a little bit scatterbrained because, again, there's just, we want to experience everything. We want to know everything. We want to kind of dabble in everything. And because of that, we're kind of all over the place. It's great to have a sense of curiosity, to have a sense of, wanting to dabble into new topics and themes, but we can find ourselves a little bit disoriented because there's too many irons in the fire, so to speak. Because this is an air energy, communication is definitely highlighted, but again, Mercury's still not out of his post-shadow period, so there are still a little bit of misunderstandings and mishaps in the way that we're speaking, but we are just kind of all over the place in this Gemini energy, and typically speaking, May into June every year tends to be a little bit crazy and chaotic because of this Gemini season, because we're opening up our minds to different options, different experiences. And because we just came out of eclipse season where we didn't have control, we kind of had wild card energies present themselves to us. Now we're taking those situations that have naturally and organically unfolded. Now we're kind of experimenting with them. This is also a very interesting time because experimentation requires us to leave our comfort zones behind. And the comfort zone that we've been sitting in hasn't been that comfortable. And so we are kind of open to change. And again, the Gemini energy is a mutable sign. So as long as we're presented with information, details, and a good argument on why it is that maybe we should change our mind or change our path or change anything about our lives, as long as it means innovation, progression, kind of doing better and seeing what works and what doesn't, we are down for it. So it is going to be a very interesting dynamic again, especially this first week of entering into Gemini energy. We are taking it all in. And again, there is this, I'm going to say, tug of war happening because Mars in this Leo energy wants us to take action as soon as possible because we haven't been able to do that in almost a year. However, the stabilizing energy of the Taurus energy that we're just moving out of is still very alive and well, not only because of the new moon in Taurus that we just had, but because Jupiter is now in Taurus energy as well. We still have an overabundance of Earth energies presenting, which means that we're not able to go as fast as we would like. And sometimes that just puts us in a funk. This is a time of information, and we are going to be gaining a lot of information about this new version of ourselves, this new version of our realities that we're about to kind of build and get our hands dirty and trying to bring to form, bring to create. But this is a much lighter vibe, let's say. And of course, when we come out of Earth energy, which is always low and slow and keeps us kind of very present in the here and now, very kind of focused on the physical form and our physical environment. Anytime we're moving out of that air or Earth energy into air energy, which is its complete opposite elemental form, we feel lighter, we feel brighter. We're not as bogged down, as heavy, as weighted. So it is going to be a very welcome change. But Gemini season is kind of, again, represented by the twins, very dualistic, very polarized. And as such, kind of split into two. We can really kind of see two very clear, distinct energies. The first half of Gemini season, kind of crazy, kind of all over the place, but very slow to start. And then the second half of Gemini season, of course, will kind of get buzzing, get a little bit crazy and chaotic as we kind of dabble into new situations and new forms. So I am going to recommend that you go ahead, you download your Gemini season e-guide so that you know the lunar cycles that we're going to be dealing with, the astro events that we're going to be having, and basically just stay in alignment with the energies that are presenting themselves. We do have to kind of be a little bit cautiously aware of the not so nice traits of the Gemini energy, which is that we're so stuck in our head that we can talk ourselves into things and out of things that maybe we have no business even doing. We can be a little bit of a chatty Cathy, which isn't a bad thing, but tend to err on the side of gossip Gabby, let's call it. And there is this element where, because Mercury rules over the lower level of the mental plane, and because Gemini kind of represents the two hemispheres of the brain of the mental plane, we could kind of see ourselves be too logical, too practical, too rational. And one would say, well, how is that a bad thing? Well, that is the intellectual side of our brain. We have to bring the emotions in, and we don't tend to want to dabble in the emotions when we're in an air energy. So we do have to kind of balance the scales. Again, it's all about finding the middle ground, not living so much in our heads, but also visiting our heart space to kind of see what it is that we're not in alignment with and what it is that we're definitely on the same page about. So there is a natural disconnection from our heart space, from our emotions, from our intuition, that we have to carefully consider to bring in to each and every thought, every choice, every decision. We can't just navigate our path using just our brain or just our headspace, just our ego or just our higher self. We do have to blend the two together, and that is what Gemini season is all about.